for the company he worked for 15 years. He has all those contacts. People in the industry know him. He goes and networks. He's been networking at all the apartment shows for 15 years. He has that experience and he has that expertise. And that's his niche. And he devotes himself to that, and he only does that. I want you to tell me, gurus, how I take a Tom Hopkins book and use all those old closes on a modern society that will not even return your calls. You know how many calls I get here a day right now? I take anywhere between 10 and in some cases 15 calls a day. Where they'll call in, they'll say I need a quote. I have a 24-hour answering service, and I get that call, that text, and an email 5 seconds after they hung up that call. I know exactly the address. I know their phone number. I know their name. I've got their email. I know how big that house is. I know how many bedrooms and baths is. I have all that data available to me from my CSRs. I know exactly what I need to quote that job. I will call them back. I can't get them on the phone. I will make another call back. I can't get them on the phone. They're expecting a text and an email. I want to know how convincing you are as a salesperson over text and email, where people don't take your calls because they know you're calling them back to pitch them, and they don't want a sales pitch. They want a price. And I will leave a message and say, and if I leave a message and I say, I'm not giving you a price until you call me back, there's going to be 10 other guys in this market that will instantly do their for him. So I will lose the opportunity if I don't play the game. Understanding your market, you're going to have to play the game if you want to succeed, or you will fail because you don't have the money, you don't have the brand, you don't have the backbone, you don't have the sales experience. You're a technician that turned solo operator, and now you're experiencing this for the first time. This is what all these gurus are preying on. They don't go after large companies. They go after the guy who doesn't know anything. I'm sure they can make you good if you will listen to them. Look, the best guru in the world isn't going to do a darn thing for you unless you do the work. All the consulting, all listening to books, listening to tapes, reading books, watching YouTube videos isn't going to do a damn thing for you unless you do the work, unless you're willing to do what they're telling you. And the problem is, most of you don't have the stomach to do what they're telling you to do. When we close the door and we have the honest conversation about what you have to do to succeed, you don't have the stomach for it at the end of the day. That's the reality. I don't know what it takes. I'm having conversations with these guys. I know the good ones. And they call me all the time. We have the conversations. And I'm having conversations with people that says, I hired this guy as my coach. Here's what he told me to do. When your coach tells you, you want to get ahead, you want to get a lot of market share very quickly, just get rid of the initial service. Most of you are selling no contract. You're depending on that income because you need it to survive. There's no way you can give an initial service because you'll say, people will take advantage of me. Yes, 30 to 50% of people will take advantage of you. But if you want to grow, you only care about the 50% that stays. That's the fact, Jack. You can't stomach somebody turning you down 100 times a day to go door knocking. You don't have the fortitude to be a door knocker and take rejection 99 times a day. You don't have the stomach for people to drop you because you're going to see that as a personal failure, that you failed and that they didn't appreciate you, and your emotions are all tied up into this. And the guy who's a total narcissist, because most of us are not narcissists, have no feelings about this. It's a transaction. I don't care about the 30% that dropped me. I only care about the 70% that stayed. And most of you can't stomach that rejection in sales. Most of you can't stomach a 50% cancel rate. It would devastate you. You would take it as a personal blow. to your integrity. How dare they? I gave them the free initial and they signed the contract for 1 year. They have no integrity because that's the game. And the problem is the guys who are in the game, they understand the rules, and they're willing to play in that arena. And you're not as an independent. You're not as a solo operator. You're not willing to do that. So tell me how you're going to sell your Fipronil. Tell me how you're going to sell when the average price in the market is $169. Okay? Initial. And $79 a quarter. I've got markets $79 a quarter. You tell me how you're going to sell it for $250 initial and $109 a quarter when everybody else is selling it at $79. Explain it to me. What's your strategy for that? How are you going to do it? When you have no USP, the difference between me and a lot of people is that customers are online looking for what I'm selling. They're looking for eco-friendly. They're looking for natural. They're looking for organic. They're looking for me. I'm not looking for them. And I get a ton of tire kickers. This is why I have my pricing. You go to naturepest.com, you're going to see my pricing now. And if you go to Natural Resources, they have their pricing. Why do we have pricing online? Because we get an enormous amount of tire kickers. I get 16,000 clicks on my website a month. We don't get to convert that many. The reason is you don't have neuro-linguistic programming on your website. I understand. It's important. It still isn't going to convert 50%. Now, if I'm converting 0.01% and I can convert 0.02%, well, that's 100% more conversion. I get it when we're talking about those numbers at scale. But when I get a Hispanic customer that doesn't understand what we do, that, oh, I want it because I don't want to contaminate my fruit because I got a new baby, but I make $9 an hour, I can't afford you. Why are you quoting to those customers? Because I don't know who's at the other end. I'm qualifying the customer on the phone. I'm sizing them up. I'm explaining my service. I explain my service. I'm a parrot. I have a script. I consult them. I evaluate them. I ask them what their problem is. When did it start? How did it start? I listen to the woman tell me the whole story. I know how to sell to women because 90% of the people that call me on the phone are women. And I listen to them extensively and they tell me the whole story about how it happened. And this is a 10-minute conversation. And then I get, okay, and here's the problem you have and here's how we're going to solve it. I sent you the video. Have you watched our video on how we do our service? Yes, no. Okay. And then I explain the service, I explain the quality, I explain why it's important that we don't contaminate their floors, that they have a little baby, that their little baby is never going to put their paws, which is their dog, on a pesticide. He's never going to lick his paws and have pesticide because we have a zero spray service. Why a holistic pest control is in their best interest. And then I quote it, and they're like, oh my God, you're so expensive. I didn't think it was going to be that expensive. What, you didn't think quality was going to be? I mean, you feel like slapping people. What, stupid? You don't think quality is expensive? Because they have nothing to compare it to. They're comparing it to what they've paid for the pest control in the past, and you're coming in at 3x the price for IPM. This is the reality of selling IPM, folks. This is the reality. So again, Guru, tell me how you're going to explain IPM. Tell me how you're going to get a close ratio. What I want you to do is actually go with me in the field, not sell me consulting over the phone, and tell me what you did and what you've done. I want you to go in the field, and I'm going to give you all my sales calls, and I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to watch you close them all with all your tactics. It's easy to sell a video about something that somebody wants, who is desperate, who wants to grow, and there's a difference between you actually demonstrating that it works without having to, while you're keeping your prices high above everybody else. No, the reality is that if Truly, Orkin, Terminex, and all these national brands are at this price, and all your local competitors are at this price, sure, you can go $5, $6, $10 more on that initial and easily justify $10 more. On $169, $10 more is what, like 5% more? 4.5%? You can justify that. You can't justify 30%. Unless you have a blue ocean, a unique product that nobody else has. And basically, if you want what I have, it's supply and demand. I only have 2 technicians. I can't only spread. I tell people, I said, if you call me, you want this service, you need to call me back now. I got 1 spot left this week. I'm booked the entire week. I create scarcity. I am booked, and you call me, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be next Thursday before I can get to most people that are wanting a roach service. How many people you know are in a hurry of getting it done today, that termite job? No. They're calling around for pricing. They're comparing. I got to talk to my wife. You know what? That is a legitimate excuse. Nobody's going to buy a 2,000. No woman is going to buy a she's calling around for her husband because he's busy and buy a $2,000 termite job on a whim and not tell her husband about it. You tell me if that's going to fly in your home. No guy is going to buy a service without comparing. Why you got this price? If you're a Hispanic, you're looking for the cheapest price. That's a reality. So tell me, what's your plan? What you going to do? I want you to show me that purple unicorn that created that company because he did it over 50 years. You ain't doing it in 2 years. You ain't doing it in 5. As a matter of fact, most of you have been now solo operators for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and you're sick and tired of it. You're done because you can't take it anymore. You can't grow, but you can't stomach what needs to be done. I don't want the problem with employees because I can't afford now. I got golden handcuffs. I've got a lifestyle. I've got the boat. I got the house. I can't cut my lifestyle to pay a guy, and he wants to make as much money as I make. You're going to have to cut your salary in half. How are you planning to build? Well, we're going to do it on quality and a little bit at a time. Listen, I'm still growing at 25% a year, and now I can't find anybody because I can't find somebody that's charismatic that can sell to the client himself in that door, that can be the guy who can upsell. You know how hard it is to find a guy, number one, that can even show up on time. Number two, that has the technical skills and that has social skills. And finding a guy with social skills and technical skills is what you need for this business. And good luck getting both. It's a purple unicorn right now. You don't have the experience or the expertise to recruit, to train and hire to do that. If you did, you would have done it already. And a guru is going to tell you what I've just told you. And you don't have the backbone and you don't have the gonads for it. I'm taking off the gloves with you. Spoiler alert. That's what he's going to tell you to do. I can tell you in one hour what it's going to take to grow. Are you willing to do it? I don't need 6 months with you. A coach needs to work really on disarming you and destroying all of your preconceived notions like a psychologist and breaking you down. So the fact that you can change your mind. Because the biggest hurdle that a guru has, that a consultant has, is to change your mind. Most of his work is dealing with you on your hangups, your preconceived notions, your misguided information. Because you thought, I love it when people tell me, oh, I'm going to do this. I got a bunch of guys in the group now answering. I said, bro, how many guys have you actually hired? How many routes do you have? Well, I don't have that, but I know it's common sense. I'm going to do this and this. You know how many business plans, when you actually implement a business plan, how many are on target? It takes double the money and double the time you thought it was going to take. And they're telling me, I said, bro, let's have this conversation again. When you actually have to hire somebody, and let me see if you're actually going to be able to pay them what you're saying right now they should be paid. Wait until you have to add on workman's comp. Wait until you have to add on all the taxes. Wait until you have to become a salesperson and then have another mouth to feed and that you're responsible for. Then come and talk to me about your plans. I laugh at most of these guys. There's 5 or 6 guys there that I know that actually have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 30 employees. They know what they're talking about. They're laughing at you. The guys that actually have grown a business sit in these groups with all these solo operators and they're laughing their asses off at the nonsense that you guys are spewing out because you read a book, because you heard, because you think, because, and you actually haven't done it. It's like sitting down with a 14-year-old and discussing 200 ways to make love to a woman and the guy's still a virgin. It's laughable. I love listening to young people tell me about how they're going to do this and do that. It's laughable. I said, bro, wait until you actually have to do it. I encourage you to go out and start up. I encourage you, if you haven't, what's the relationship going to be like with your wife? Can your wife stomach the ups and downs? What's your strong suit? It's laughable, bro. A lot of the stuff that I hear, that I see. And then you've got all these gurus. I just had one yesterday. He friends me, and 10 minutes later, hey, how's your day going? Sales pitch. So I said, great, what can I do for you? And he gets offended, says, what do you mean? I got your number, dude. I said, the only 2 reasons people contact me is because they want to sell me something or they want advice from me. So what do you want? No more conversation. I click his profile, guru. It's right there in the back. Who's going to be the next millionaire? I love it when the guys comment on my groups in my personal page and they just agree with one thing the last guy said, and then I click his thing and I said, guru. Of course you're agreeing with everything because you're selling coaching and success and, I help people grow their business through whatever. Guru. It's easier to be a guru than it is to actually be a person who's actually done it. Now, I'm not saying that a coach is a bad thing. Most coaches that teach and coach never actually played. That's fine. The problem is you guys are a dime a dozen now. Everybody that can't hack it in the real world decides they're going to be a coach. Did you become a coach because you're actually successful at it? Were you an entrepreneur or were you actually an entrepreneur? I was an entrepreneur before I was an entrepreneur. I'm going to give you an example. I worked for a t-shirt company that used to sell Christian t-shirts called Solid Light. And I left my job as a national sales manager because I got so discouraged because of what I had to do what I did. And I was putting mom and pops out of business. And I could not take it anymore. My soul could not take anymore what I was doing. And I left that job where I was selling $13 million a year in contracts for a $4 billion company at the time. But I was destroying everybody and only benefiting the large companies. I really worked for the insurance company. My job was to save them millions of dollars a year in glass claims. So you talk to me about knowing I was corporate. I was the guy who was the raider. I was that guy. I don't have today, as a born-again Christian, with my maturity, the stomach to do what I did when I was 25 years old, young and stupid, and eager and hungry, and had a chip on my shoulder and had something to prove. I no longer have that in me. I don't have that available to me. I was so distraught that I literally was depressed. I could not get out of bed in the morning and do it anymore. And I went to work for this t-shirt company who was a Christian t-shirt maker selling to camps. And every month I blew quota away. I went from selling, negotiating in Brooklyn, Bronx, all over the east of the Mississippi, negotiating $200,000 a year contracts to selling $200,000 a year in t-shirts. And they were like, man, what do I need to do to sell custom t-shirts? We would sell pre-printed t-shirts to bookstores. You know, you go into a Christian bookstore and you buy a Christian t-shirt. There were only two major competitors at the time, and we were one of them. The guy became converted because he owned Airwaves. Airwaves was the largest manufacturer in the world of transfers. These are high quality transfers. You could not tell the difference between this transfer and a custom printed shirt. They were that good. And he decided, hey, we're going to open up a Christian line and sell to the Christian market, bookstore, churches. I sold to camps, Christian camps all around the country. I had 1,500 camps to sell to. I immediately made a list of the top 100 largest. I went into a strategic sales strategy, and I came back to them. I says, if you really want to sell to these guys, sell custom t-shirts, but only to the large top 100. These guys have huge bookstores. They're seeing 10,000 visitors a year in their camps. This is where the money is. Okay, what do we got to do to sell this? And I said, I need you to tell me, here's what I think. I think we're going to sell 500 t-shirts at a time. He says, nobody buys 500 t-shirts at a time. I said, we're going to sell 500 t-shirts at a time. But I need it at $5 a shirt, and I needed full color with graphic design thrown in. At that time, we were charging $45 an hour for graphic design, and the average graphic design was 2 to 4 hours to finish a t-shirt. And I said, we're going to sell custom t-shirts this year. I need you to tell me what price I need to sell it at for you to be profitable. That's how you go into a negotiation. You don't tell them, I said, I need you to sell t-shirts and I need to do it cheap because nobody will buy it. No, I need you to tell me as the manufacturer, if I can sell 500 t-shirts at a time, I need it for $5 with 5 colors. This is going to be my strategy. 5 color t-shirt, $5. What do I need to say? It comes back and says you need to sell 500. And I need the artwork included up to 5 hours. I was going to sell a 5 for 5 deal. That was my marketing strategy. And he says, okay, in order for us to get the price down to 500, it has to be on a white t-shirt, can't be color, and you have to order 500 at a time. I said, done. I immediately got on the phone, started sending faxes. This was when faxes were a thing. I started that company on automated faxing. They were not doing that. And it would take 24 to 48 hours to fax to the entire database. I would tie up their fax machine for the entire day. And I sold in 1 month $50,000 in 1 month of custom t-shirts. They have never sold $50,000 in 5 years of custom t-shirts. They weren't in that market. And the owner of the company came to me and says, you can't sell another one of these jobs. We're booked. All of June and all of July is booked on the presses. We can't sell another one. Their limit was $50,000. As a salesperson, I was pissed. I said, why can't you hire more printers and work around the clock? That was my answer to the production manager. I said, because I get paid commission, you get paid a salary no matter what you print. I don't. I'm on commission. And I created a system where I went for the Christian camps, and then I started targeting our retail product. And I went to, at that time, Old Navy, and I said, what is Old Navy doing to sell shirts? And the way they displayed them on the wall. And I created a micro little rack where you can have, it was 9 designs on the wall with a rack, came included, merchandising, and you would buy 24 t-shirts and we would give you the display for free. See, I'm an innovator. I was an entrepreneur because I had it in me before I became an entrepreneur. And that was a whole lot easier to do all that than it is to grow this business. Guys, I know how to sell. I know how to figure out what the customer wants. There isn't a customer on the planet, I'm going to leave you with this, that's waking up tomorrow morning and say, I got to buy luxury pest control. I want the most luxurious pest control I can buy. Because I want to impress my friends and family, and I want to have a good fluffy feeling that I bought luxury pest control. You can't use the same analogy as Mercedes, Rolex, Publix, Louis Vuitton. When a woman buys a Louis Vuitton, a real Louis Vuitton, she's making a statement. Nobody wants to make a statement with pest control. As a matter of fact, they wish that you would drive up in a white van with no uniform and no branding so that nobody would ever find out in their neighborhood that they have bugs. Because nobody wants the pest control in their house. Nobody wants more chemical in their home. Nobody wants, to go through the experience of having to take time off to meet every 3 months with the pest control guy. Nobody wants anything to do with our industry. We are associated with chemical. This is a hard sell. People buy pest control because they either are afraid or there's damage to their home and they want to protect their home, but they usually do it after the fact. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what? Before we buy this house, we need to make sure that Thermador HE was used on this property. And that we're protected against every future infestation. How many people buy a home here? And I said, brother, you get a termite inspection? He says, no, I just bought the home. Why didn't you get a termite inspection? You got termites. I didn't know that. The realtor never told me. A lot of the things that people sell, like car washes. People will buy a car wash. People will spend, listen to me. People will spend more money shampooing their dog and paying somebody to come to their house in a van to bathe and trim Fluffy and spend $69 a week on Fluffy. And they will refuse to pay your $69 every 2 months on preventive pest control. That's the facts, Jack. I want you to think about that. And I'm selling a program that protects Fluffy. And you're still haggling with me over, oh my God, this other company. All of you guys do the same thing. You all spray for bugs. I'm going to leave you with that, folks. This is Frank the Pest Geek wishing you a pestacular day.